Hello. I believe it'll be the afternoon by the time this is shown. So good afternoon, everyone. My name's Greg Thorpe and I am the convener of AU C5, the Markets and Regulation Mirror Panel. My job today is to give you a brief presentation about the work of C5 in Australasia over the last 12 months. I'll be summarising some of the really major market and regulatory changes that have occurred in the markets that members represent, and also note some of our international activities. So, to get started. As we all recognise, technology is changing dramatically, policy settings are changing dramatically as well. And we don't need to be told again that the paradigms that used to be the case are no longer fit for purpose. Our C5 members are focused on regulatory and commercial instruments. We currently have 18 members representing 5 markets. The panel last met at the end of June this year by virtual meeting. The key matters that we discussed then were the preparation for the large disturbance workshop held as part of the virtual Paris 2021 session. This session is always a highlight, and Australia, for better or worse, usually has events worth discussion. We also gave quite a bit of time to preparation of 4 technical papers to be presented at the Paris 2022 session. And our next meeting is scheduled to be held in the middle of 2022, and with a bit of luck, that might be face-to-face. Looking at the markets that members represent, starting with New Zealand, and thank you to Ramu Naidu for this contribution. So there's been a very considerable amount of new projects announced, all of them renewable. An interesting development is that this time last year, I was reporting that a very large block of load in the aluminium smelter in the South Island was expected to shut down. That's now changed, and that is continuing to operate at least for a couple more years. On the regulatory side, the Electricity Authority, the rulemaker in New Zealand, is consulting on a proposed new transmission pricing methodology. That'll come into force in a couple of years, dependent on the results of consultation. Going up north in Australia, the Darwin-Katherine system. The work to reform the Darwin-Katherine electricity market is continuing. There are 2 major themes that work is trying to achieve. It's trying to facilitate a renewable mandate of government, and also to do that in a way that allows for open access and competition. The NER is being adopted progressively, chapter by chapter, and in fact, it is already being used to regulate networks. In the last 12 months, the focus of work has been on the market side, where there's been significant work, although it has been pretty much behind closed doors, on a reliability mechanism, essential services, and dispatch and settlement. And thanks to Sean Egan for his assistance in putting this one together. In the northwest of the country, in the Pilbara, this is a market that often goes under the radar. But there's been considerable work there, and they have recently finished creation of a light-handed access regime, and it is in operation. And there will be a new system operator function. It is yet another framework which just demonstrates the importance of taking account of local conditions in market designs. So it has an independent system operator, and the members of the company there are the operators of the main electricity networks, who I've listed there. In Western Australia, in the wholesale electricity market there, which operates in the southwest, there's also been major work that has now come to completion. There's been called an energy transformation strategy, and the list of items there that were covered by that: a new whole of system plan, roughly equivalent to an integrated system plan of the NEM, a DER roadmap, generator performance standards, and an overhaul of the dispatch arrangements. They've also changed market governance, and looking forward, the Energy Policy WA has now launched phase 2, which will begin implementation, a review of the reserve capacity mechanism, which really was not significantly amended by the transformation strategy that's been completed, and also some further structural changes to the market rules in both electricity and gas. In the Australian NEM, the most significant activity was the work of the Energy Security Board, which continued from 2019. Recommendations have been accepted for changes in resource adequacy and thermal plant retirement, in essential system services, DER markets, and access and transmission. You can see there the overlap with some of the work that's been done in the Western Australian market. The work is underway to develop detailed designs, and also the ESB itself has now been restructured and comprises the heads of AEMC, AER and AEMO. You might say the permanent entities rather than a special purpose body. The work of C5, there has been a large disturbance workshop, which I mentioned. There's also been, that is a joint activity with C2, and it examines market and system implications of disturbances. The large disturbance workshop was held again in 2021, and that was again quite successful. AUC5 members contributed papers for the upcoming session for next year, and also presented papers that were considered in 21. Members of the panel are involved in working groups for blockchain applications, real-time market price formation, a new working group with C2 on market interventions and carbon pricing in electricity markets. And I'd also like to record my general assistance from Victor Francisco, who is the secretary of the panel. Thank you.